A little girl in a red dress bursts into a roadside diner, breathless and sobbing. "They're beating my mama." Engines stop. Conversations die. Every eye turns. 3 Hell's Angels stand, not to posture, but to protect. What they do next makes even the sirens go quiet. Before we dive in, let us know where you're watching from and make sure to subscribe. Tomorrow's story is one you won't want to miss. It was an ordinary morning at a quiet roadside diner, coffee steam, clinking cups, and the rumble of bikes cooling in the cold air. Then a child ran in, messy hair and tear-streaked cheeks, begging strangers to help her mother. In that instant, the room changed. The bikers people fear didn't hesitate. They moved with calm purpose, like men who know what to do when seconds matter. This is a story about courage, community, and how kindness can arrive in leather and steel. Watch to the end. What happened outside that trailer left a town in respectful silence. The bell over the door stuttered twice, and a little girl stumbled in. She wore a red dress that belonged to birthdays, not fear. Hair wine-tossed, cheeks wet, she reached for a hand that wasn't there and gripped a booth instead. Her first word was a gasp. "Please!" Conversation thinned. The waitress, Addie, froze, with a coffee pot suspended above a trucker's mug. The cook leaned in, spatula angled mid-turn. Normal felt far away. "They're hurting my mama," the girl cried. "At the trailers, please! Please help!" The owner, Gus Romero, moved first, soft-voiced inside a flour-dusted apron. "Breathe, sweetheart. What's your name?" "Juliet." The name nearly vanished inside a sob. She scrubbed her nose with the back of her hand. He's hurting her." In the corner sat 3 bikers who had come with the dawn, leather vests dark as shut doors. One stood. Chair legs whispered. The room adjusted to him like a river to a stone. Jax Mercer didn't rush. He went to one knee so Juliet's fear wouldn't have to climb. He let his hands rest, visible, easy, on his thighs. "Juliet," he said. "I'm Jax." She met his eyes. They were steady. "Where is she?" he asked. No extra words to carry. Juliet pointed through the door as if pointing could pull the road closer. "Down the lane. Old trailers. The one with the blue steps. He came back and he's mad and—" Her breath folded on itself. "I ran." Jax nodded. "You did the right thing." The words unlocked something. She straightened a little. Gus set a glass of water and a napkin on the counter. Addie slid a stool over. Regulars made space without being told. A trucker eased out of a booth. Papers were put away. Nobody wore the old flinch around the bikers. Not now. Jax lifted his chin toward the lot. Brick and Ace, his brothers on the road, were already rising. Brick's hands checked vest, keys, phone. Ace's gaze measured the parking spaces, counting seconds. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Jax to Juliet. "Is your mama alone with him?" She nodded, quick and small. "I think a neighbor called the police. I don't know." "Okay," Jax said, voice warm and level. "We're going to help her. You stay here with Gus and Addie. You'll see us leave through the window." Juliet's mouth trembled. "Will he hurt you?" A small, unshowy smile. "We'll be careful." He tilted his head, finding her eyes again. "Show me the direction one more time. The blue steps?" She pointed, firmer now. "Past the big oak, right at the sign with missing letters." "Perfect," Jax said. "You did good, Juliet." The room settled. Not relief, not yet, but trust, like a thin bridge across a rushing place. Gus crouched beside her. "You're safe here," he said. "This counter's our fortress." Addie lifted the glass to Juliet's lips. "Small sips," she murmured a bit. "Like tasting rain." Jax stood. The movement was smooth, unhurried, final. Passing Gus, he pitched his voice low. "Keep the front clear. If sirens come, wave them in." Gus nodded once, the way a man agrees to be a lighthouse. The bell nipped Jax's shoulder as he pushed out. Cold air curled around ankles inside. Brick and Ace were already cutting lines across the gravel, boots making a dry crunch. Through the glass, Juliet gripped the stool's edge until her knuckles turned white. Jax paused at the threshold and looked back. He didn't raise a hand. He didn't have to. The look said, "I heard you. I'm on my way." Engines turned over one by one, a low promise that sounded like courage. Coffee steam rose in the same rhythm, as if the diner exhaled to steady the heart. Inside, the room held still so Juliet wouldn't have to. Outside, the morning widened. Inside, a girl in a red dress closed her eyes and, for the first time since she ran, believed someone stronger than the fear was moving toward her mother. Gravel popped under boots as Jax Mercer crossed the lot, the cold sliding under his collar like a warning. He didn't look back at the window where Juliet watched. He didn't need to. Brick moved left, Ace moved right, and the three men fell into the familiar geometry of purpose. No speeches, just hands, habits, and the quick math of time. Jax swung into the saddle, thumbed the ignition, and let the engine settle into a low, patient thrum. Brick's bike coughed once, then joined it. Ace checked mirrors and rode, his head turning in short, economical arcs. Jax lifted 2 fingers, then cut the air forward. Formation, staggered, with him on point. Speed, close distance, never outrun judgment. They rolled off the diner's gravel and onto the 2-lane, tires kissing the seam where old asphalt met new. Their engines braided into one sound, disciplined, steady, unafraid. Jax mapped the route without words, past the big oak, right at the sign with missing letters. Blue steps. He repeated the landmarks until they stopped being pictures and became timing marks. He watched not only the road but the edges, ditches, driveways, the thin ribbon of smoke from a burn barrel. Brick held the left offset, eyes cutting between verge and lane, scanning for sudden doors, a dog off its chain, a truck nose poking out. Ace swept the right, mailboxes, gravel fans, the silver flash of ice in a shaded bend. At 45, Jax let the frame speak. The tires were cool. The sun hadn't warmed the blacktop. He rode like a man carrying water to the lip of a glass, brisk, centered, refusing spill. When the lane narrowed between scrub oak, he signaled down 2, and the line compressed without a ripple. An oncoming pickup drifted toward the center. Jax eased right and lifted a calm, open palm. Brick mirrored it. Ace repeated it. No horn, no flash, just a negotiated share of space that kept heat out of the picture. They crossed the creek and the temperature dipped. Breath fogged inside Jax's helmet. He ran a clock on response time. If a call was in, units might be minutes behind. That meant minutes mattered. He rolled his wrist and felt the bike answer. He didn't chase speed. He managed momentum. Every rise and hollow, crown and depression he treated like the beginning of a story he needed to finish well. At the faded billboard, only. Aisles to the lake, Jack signaled a brief pull-off. They coasted in, engines low, and took 10 seconds. Brick confirmed gloves and comms. Ace slid a zip tie into his cuff where his right hand could find it blind. Jax traced the mental layout. Trailer rows like crooked teeth. Blue steps near the cottonwood. Likely lines of approach and retreat. "Clean in," Jax said. 2 words. Enough. They rolled again, rejoining the lane as a logging rig rumbled past. Jax waited for the wake to settle, then pointed the right turn. Gravel hissed beneath the tires. The road narrowed to a ribbon with ditches like unblinking eyes. Mailboxes rose in a ragged parade, names half-faded, flags crooked. A child's bike lay on its side, a wheel turning slow. The trailers appeared by degrees, roofs patched with silver tape, tarp corners pinned by cinder blocks, wind chimes knotted by last night's gusts. Jax lifted his chin. Brick peeled to the service track, low and slow, staying outside the obvious cone of attention. Ace hung back at the mouth of the lane, angled for sight lines and an exit path. Jax took center toward the blue steps, but not yet. He parked 2 lots down and cut the engine. The quiet that followed wasn't silence. It was listening. A man's voice bled thinly from behind a dented door, stretched by drink into something longer and uglier than language. Jax felt it like pressure before weather. He counted distances, door to steps, steps to Jax, Jax to Brick's line, Brick to Ace's view. He matched breath to numbers until numbers turned to readiness. The air smelled of tin and rain. He tapped the tank once for Brick, twice for Ace. Then he stood, rolled his shoulders, and set his boots toward the place where fear had asked for help. The trailer door wasn't latched. It pushed open under Jax's knuckles. Stale beer, cold grease, and the ghost of bleach crowded the air. In the kitchen strip, a bare bulb hummed. The room felt tight, waiting for the next sound. Lena Ortiz stood in the corner between sink and fridge. Palms flat, chest fluttering. One sleeve was torn. A purple shadow had begun along her cheekbone. Derek Vaughn swayed a step off her, a bottle loose in his right hand, jaw working around curses more sound than sense. "Lena," he slurred. "You run your mouth, I'll—" The rest never arrived. Jax crossed the space with the quiet of someone who learned to move on uneven floors. He didn't shout or announce. He read angles, wrist, elbow, shoulder, raised his left hand open human while his right prepared the answer. Derek's arm flicked. The bottle arced toward Lena's head. Jax stepped inside the swing, caught the wrist with a bone-deep grip, and rotated. The motion was small, exact, the kind that locks joints before the brain edits. The bottle slipped and burst against the cabinet. Brown glass pebbled the floor. Brick was through the doorway. Ace a beat behind, both staying out of Lena's line and into Derek's options. Brick took the elbow Jax didn't hold. Thumb to tendon, pressure precise. Ace rode Derek's off-balance step and folded him to the linoleum. No weight thrown, no theatrics, only joints listening to leverage. "Hands open," Jax said even. "We're done." Derek thrashed once, then hissed as the zip tie found his wrists. Ace set a knee beside, not on the shoulder, keeping air where air belongs. Brick nudged larger shards out of reach. The whole thing took seconds measured by a faint, rising siren. Jax turned to Lena. "I'm Jax," he said. "Juliet came to the diner." Her breath caught at her daughter's name. She kept her palms on the fridge as if letting go might collapse what the metal held up. "She ran," Lena whispered. "Good." Jax kept his hands visible, palms forward. No sudden moves, a living antidote to the last 5 minutes. "No major bleeding I can see," he said softly. "But I'd like to check if you'll let me. Police should be here any minute. You're safe." Lena nodded. He stepped closer, eyes level, scanning. The cheekbone bruise was swelling but not split. A red scrape scored her forearm. He asked about neck pain, vision, dizziness. She answered in short words. The light hummed. Behind them, Derek spat a laugh with no humor. "Heroes!" he sneered. "Leather heroes!" Brick didn't rise to it. Ace didn't either. The answer was gravity and quiet. Jax kept his focus on Lena. "Juliet's with friends," he said. "Warm inside watching the window. She did the bravest, smartest thing." Moisture gathered along Lena's lashes. Not a sob, a thaw. She nodded again. "Blue steps," she said. "I told her to run if he came. She remembered." Sirens closer now, stitched through the trees. Red and blue began to test the blinds. Jax angled his body so he was between Lena and the door without looming. He asked if she wanted a jacket. She shook her head and clasped her arms beneath the torn sleeve. He spoke low so only she could hear. "We'll tell the officers exactly what we saw. You can tell them what happened. If you want medical, we'll ask. If you'd rather ride back to the diner, we'll make that happen." Lena's shoulders eased a fraction. "Ride back," she said. "I don't want her to wait long." A cruiser stopped outside, brakes hushing on gravel. Radio chatter touched the room through thin walls. Ace loosened his knee, checked restraint, and rose. Brick stepped back half a pace, showing open hands. Jax glanced once at Derek. Not unkind, simply finished. "It stops here," he said. Then to Lena, gentler. "You did everything right." The door breathed again as officers entered, eyes reading scene, hands calm, but ready. Jax raised his palms halfway, thumb and forefinger spread, the easy language of cooperation. He gave names, actions, sequence, nothing extra, everything true. The bulb hummed, glass sparkled on linoleum, and the worst of the storm was already behind them. They return in a low, even rumble, 3 bikes coasting to the diner as morning climbs toward day. Jax cuts his engine first, then Brick and Ace, and the quiet that follows feels intentional, like a pause before grace. Through the glass, Juliet is already moving. The doorbell trembles. She bursts out with that careful run of children who have learned to be fast and gentle. Lena steps down from Brick's bike, one hand to the tender place on her cheek. She's smaller in daylight, but standing. Jax crouches, offering an arm without insisting, and Lena uses it to balance, not to lean. Juliet reaches her mother, stops short, and searches her face as if names could be misspelled on skin. Then she wraps both arms around Lena's waist. Lena lowers her forehead to her daughter's hair and breathes like it's the first good air in hours. Gus Romero is already outside with 2 steaming mugs and a folded throw blanket over his shoulder. "Here," he says, handing the drinks to Addie as she arrives behind him. Leather becomes warmth. Ace unbuttons his vest and settles it across Juliet's shoulders. Jax drapes his across Lena's back, heavy and protective, the patches catching light without shouting. Inside, the diner adjusts around them like a lens snapping to focus. A trucker stands to yield the corner booth. The spreadsheet pair close their folders. One pulls napkins, the other slides silverware away as if clearing sharp weather from a table. Coffee appears, because coffee is the language of after. Gus sets the mugs down and adds a plate of toast no one ordered. "Butter heals," he says, and earns the smallest ghost of a smile. Officer Reed and Officer Morales step in minutes later, the sound of radio and zippers held at the door. Their eyes move, first to Lena and Juliet, then to the riders, then back. They introduce themselves without volume. Morales kneels, badge level with Juliet's sightline. "I'm Dana," she says. "Do you want to sit with your mom while we talk?" Juliet nods, clutching the vest tighter like a portable room. Reed speaks with Jax at the counter, pen ready but not urgent. "Walk me through it again," he says. Jax does. Door ajar, verbal aggression, bottle swing, wrist control, restraint, Lena's condition, sirens. No embroidery. He keeps his voice plain. Brick confirms positions. Ace explains the zip tie, the knee beside the shoulder, not on it. Details that sound like care, because they are. At the booth, Morales listens while Lena tells the short, bright facts. "He came back angry. He blocked the door. I told Juliet to run if that ever happened." Morales writes, then looks up. "She did, and it saved time." Lena nods. Her fingers circle the mug for heat. Juliet presses closer. Addie drapes the blanket over both and tucks the edge in. The crowd's silence is a different kind of noise. Earlier suspicion dissolves into the respectful, quiet people keep in hospitals and churches. Phones stay down. Someone brings a small vase with 2 tired daisies from the window and sets it on the table. A man who had once muttered about bikers clears his throat and says to no one in particular, "Good work." Reed closes his notebook. "An ambulance is available," he offers. Lena considers, then shakes her head. "I just want to sit with my daughter," Reed accepts. He turns to Jax. "You 3 staying around?" Jax nods. "We check in on Sundays." It's not a boast. It's a schedule. Gus returns with a paper bag, eggs, bread, a few apples, a receipt stapled on top that reads, "Paid," with no total. "For later," he says. Brick adds a folded list from the regulars, mattresses, a heater, a ride to pick up clothes. Names and numbers line it like rungs on a ladder. Outside, sirens fade to the hum of the highway. Inside, the room holds its small, committed silence. Lena and Juliet share toast. Jax sits at the next table facing the door, not guarding, just present. The patches on the chairs look less like warnings and more like promises. By the time the coffee cools, respect has settled. Quiet, unshowy, and real. Sunday became a clock the town could trust. After late service, 3 Harleys settled to an idle outside Gus Romero's diner. Jax, Brick, and Ace arrived with practical mercy, not speeches, pantry staples, heavy trash bags, a reliable space heater, a small tool kit with the tiny L-shaped Allen key Juliet loved to name. Their questions sounded like help, not inspection. What's needed? What broke? What can wait? The first Sunday, Brick set a new deadbolt while Ace measured for a curtain rod that would hold a blackout panel. Jax handed tools and let Quiet do most of the talking. Lena hovered with a mug and a grateful smile, the relief of not being alone with a list. Juliet narrated from a chair, heels tapping a soft beat. "Screws there," she told Brick. He saluted and set the plate level on the first try. The second Sunday, they brought groceries and left block letter recipes. Chili that stretches, rice that fluffs, pancakes that turn out every time. Ace found the rattle in the heater and tuned it to a purr. Jax replaced smoke detector batteries and wrote the date on masking tape inside the cover, because memory is a kindness, too. Afterward, Gus slid an envelope marked Juliet's Brave Heart, cash from the jar the regulars kept feeding. By the third Sunday, routine had soft edges. Lena's color returned. Juliet slept through the night and stacked small victories. Spelling tests, a library card, a laugh that sprang upward. Jax adjusted a second-hand bike and taught the clean start. 1 pedal high, 1 push. Think forward. She rode from mailbox to signpost and back, jaw set, then grinned so hard the lot felt warmer. They didn't turn Sundays into a parade. Some weeks were a leak and a sticky drawer. Others a longer list. A shelf to anchor. A frame to hang so a room could admit its intention to be a home. In between visits, the town braided small kindnesses. A neighbor took school pickup when Lena's shift ran long. The librarian tucked aside chapter books. Officer Morales stopped by. No clipboard, just hello. Jax kept notes on his phone under a file called Blue Steps. Not because he was sentimental, he told himself, but because systems turn goodness into something you can count on. Still, certain moments pressed under the ribs. Juliet's hand seeking her mother's shoulder in crowded rooms. Lena saying "we" about plans that technically belonged to her. Winter softened into spring. Jackets hung open, sunlight stitched ladders across the pavement. On a Sunday that smelled like soap and wet concrete, Juliet waited by the window with a folded paper. She checked the lot, then the fold, then lot again, rehearsing a ceremony of 2 moves: offer, accept. The bikes arrived and went still. Juliet bounced once and met them halfway. "Jax," she said, serious, "I made you a picture." She unfolded it carefully. Crayon brightened the day, grass like laughter, a sky the color of kind thoughts. 3 black motorcycles with determined wheels. In the center, a small figure in a red dress. Beside her, a taller figure on one knee. The jacket patch was more feeling than geometry, but the meaning was certain. Jax studied it until silence reached the right length. At the doorway, Lena pressed a hand to her throat. "It's us," Juliet said. "When I told you. When you heard me." Jax smoothed a crease with his thumb. "You did good," he said. "Keep doing good." He folded the drawing along Juliet's careful lines and slid it into the inside pocket of his vest, where leather warms with the road and keeps what matters close. He tapped the pocket once, a small salute. "Rides with me," he said. Juliet's smile was sunlight on chrome. "Always, always." They went inside for pancakes that turn out every time. The paper bag on the counter held batteries, window caulk, and 2 apples, because Gus believes in fruit the way some men believe in luck. Outside, day kept its ordinary mercies. Inside, a crayon promise rode with a man wherever he went. A quiet vow set by road dust and time. You don't ignore a cry, and you don't let the echo fade. Always steady now. Always. If this story moved you, if it made you angry, tense, shocked, and finally satisfied when justice was served, let your voice be heard. Comment wherever you're watching from, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. Because together we can keep rewriting the narrative, one story at a time.